Good evening. This is meteorologist Drew Lerner of World Weather Incorporated, and this is a little special weather update here regarding winter wheat areas across the U.S. and the big ice storm that's going to be impacting the Delta and the southeastern parts of the country. First, I just want to run through the European model run. You've probably seen this 10,000 times over the past few days with all the meteorologists predicting this big ice and snowstorm across the southern parts of the United States. But I just want to get everyone on the right page here. So as you can see here, as we go forward through the night tonight and into the day tomorrow, there'll be some showers scattering around in the southeast, but nothing very significant. But notice the cold surge coming down from Canada. This is a very strong surface high pressure center coming in across Saskatchewan here on tomorrow as we go into tomorrow night and into on Friday morning. And the temperatures underneath this surface high may get down below -40 in a few spots. That's how cold this air mass is. It'll be -30s and -20s in the eastern Dakotas and Minnesota, and we will push 0-degree temperatures down across the central United States, central plains, and portions of the lower Midwest. So all that cold air comes down into those areas on Friday, and then we've got this little disturbance that comes in from California and starts bringing moisture into Mexico and starts to pull the moisture out of the Gulf of America into the southern U.S. plains. And suddenly you get some moisture starting to evolve here. You can see on Friday afternoon, snow should be widespread in the central plains, in parts of hard red winter wheat country, with a wintry mix of precipitation down in the south and Oklahoma and northern Texas. As we go on into Saturday morning after midnight, on Saturday morning, you can see that the snow becomes pretty widespread across a big part of the region from Nebraska and parts of Kansas into Iowa and Missouri. And that is followed by some freezing rain and sleet that is occurring down to the south across southern parts of Oklahoma, northern Texas. A fair amount of West Texas is going to be involved with some of that ice and snow. And then we start pushing it eastward, and we will spread that across a big part of the lower Midwest, the Tennessee River Basin, and eventually the middle and northern Atlantic coastal region. A very impressive storm system. Notice the cold air coming in behind it. This will push freezes down possibly into South Texas, at least into the interior parts of South Texas. And we're a little bit concerned that next week we could get some freezes in Florida. So with all that said, I think there's a certain amount of concern about hard red winter wheat areas and also in some of the soft red wheat areas in the Midwest. This is the snow cover chart from this morning. This is Wednesday, January 21st. And we have a big lack of snow from southern Alberta and southern Saskatchewan through Montana, western Dakotas, down into the heart of hard red winter wheat country and into parts of the Midwest. It is not going to snow significantly in any part of the central United States before we get involved with the coldest air. These are the morning lows on Friday, and there shouldn't be any precipitation of significance until we get into Friday afternoon. Notice sub-zero temperatures occurring in Nebraska, maybe coming down to the Kansas border, but across Iowa, northern Missouri, into Illinois and parts of Indiana. Now, in a normal scenario, without snow on the ground, having temperatures near zero is at least the threshold for winter kill or for damage done to winter wheat. Now, we've had quite a bit of warmth this season, but it has been cooling down recently, and the crop is beginning to harden once again after it lost winter hardiness during December and early January. These temperatures are low enough to cause a problem, but I am of the opinion that they are not going to be cold enough for a long enough period of time, because that snow event starts to kick in right away. And that snow event is already on Friday afternoon. So Friday morning, we'll see temperatures down close to or slightly below zero for a few hours, but we will bring in increased cloud cover, and we'll also bring in snow. And I think that's going to put down a layer of protection for some of the crops in these areas. Similarly, I should point out that it'll be somewhat cold also up in Montana in the areas that are snow free today. Yeah, but they will probably pick up a little dusting of snow as the cold air arrives. Not convinced that it's going to be good snow, but they will get some snow. As we go into Saturday morning, the cold overspreads a big part of the central plains and into the heart of the Midwest. But at this point, snow has either occurred or is occurring from the Texas Panhandle through Nebraska and eastward into Illinois. And so at this point, it doesn't matter how cold it is from a winter wheat perspective. Now, the other thing I wanted to point out is that winter crops in Oklahoma and Texas are not nearly as winter hardy as they are up in Nebraska. And so temperatures in the single digits there would be a real problem if there was no snow on the ground. But we're going to have snow and ice accumulate. That should protect those crops. As we get into Sunday morning, we expect more of the same. But notice the 0-degree temperature is starting to drop into West Texas. Again, this area will be snow covered by that time. Notice also we get temperatures down into the single digits in parts of southern Missouri and western Tennessee into parts of the Midwest. These areas will be snow and ice covered by the time we get to Sunday morning. And so the cold will protect some of the wheat crop in those areas as well. Now, as we move forward into this whole storm system, you can see there's substantial amounts of snow and ice predicted. The snowfall from central Kansas into Ohio is probably going to be 1 to 5 inches. From southern Kansas into southern Ohio, maybe 4 to 10 inches. And we'll probably see some local totals over 12 inches occurring in some pockets from southernmost Missouri and northernmost Arkansas into West Virginia and maybe Pennsylvania and some neighboring areas there. Lighter snows will occur up in Montana and from there into Nebraska. We'll probably see a trace upwards to 4 or 5 inches. Now, this snow is going to be very dry, powdery snow for many areas. So these totals I've given you may be conservative. We may very well see greater accumulations, but the volume of moisture that's in the snow may not be all that impressive. These are the moisture totals that come from the storm. You'll notice in the Mid-South region, including the Delta, you can see that the moisture totals are going to be in the 1 to 3 inch range. Now, a lot of that precipitation in the central and southern parts of the Delta will occur as rain, but there will be a little freezing rain that will occur in northern parts of Mississippi, also in parts of Arkansas nearby there. And once you cross that black dashed line on the chart, you'll see much more ice than you will for rain. And the ice accumulation will be fairly significant, especially for the Memphis area, maybe from Little Rock through Memphis over to Nashville and up into maybe southern Kentucky. To the north of that will be more moisture coming from mostly snow, and you'll see that the moisture totals are in the 3 to 9/10 of an inch range. I do not expect a lot of relief from the drought in the eastern parts of the Carolinas or southeastern Georgia into Florida. These areas will get some moisture, but most of the precipitation of significance will be near and to the northwest of the Appalachian Mountains. Except in Virginia and parts of North Carolina, where we will see some greater moisture on the east side of the mountains. But notice the snow coverage will be around for a big part of the Central Plains. So the only risk morning for hard red winter wheat and soft red wheat is going to be Friday. Once we're beyond Friday, I think we're going to be okay. It will stay cold, though, for a while. And what's really interesting is what happens afterwards. After this storm system passes, this is the upper air wind flow pattern for January 27th, and that's next week, Tuesday. You can see that there's a surface high pressure center over the snow and ice areas in the lower Midwest and the parts of the northern Delta. Cool air gets down into Florida. I'm not convinced at this point we're going to see any kind of freeze event in central Florida on the 27th, but as this extra cold air mass up in Canada starts to work its way southeastward, we may see a bit of a risk as we get out to the 29th or perhaps the 30th. So sugarcane in Louisiana and citrus in Florida both will be at risk, or at least need to be watched for harder freezes possibly occurring at that time. Now, the polar vortex has been extended in a long trough over the eastern part of North America, and that's been the cause of all this cold. Most of the models now suggest that once we get to the end of January, we will put an end to all of this cold. So we will see that ridge building up in the western parts of North America, and as we move on into the first days in February, we start warming up the western half of North America pretty substantially, and a lot of the bitter cold in the east will be put down as well. The bottom line is significant ice accumulations will occur from northern Texas, southern Oklahoma, through the northern parts of the Delta into the mid-Atlantic region. There's going to be a lot of trees, tree limbs down, power lines are going to be down. There's going to be a lot of power outages. Some of the ice accumulation will be substantial, and we will see an extended period, maybe a few days, before some of the power is restored in some of these areas. This is meteorologist Drew Lerner.